Laura Seltzer-Duny is a Virginia Peninsula native who spent over 2 years developing and creating this film. She is currently spearheading the distribution of Nobody Wants Us and educational materials to schools and communities throughout the country through her distributor, New Day Films. This 43-minute award-winning PBS film is part of a comprehensive 4-part educational program that Seltzer Film and Video is distributing to junior and high schools around the country. She has a special interest in producing documentaries featuring unsung heroes and communities they help. As an impact producer, Laura has produced many stories shedding light on environmental, social justice, and mental health issues. Laura founded Seltzer Film and Video over 15 years ago, and her company has produced hundreds of videos for nonprofits and educational institutions. She is an award-winning PBS documentary and educational filmmaker and is based in Washington, D.C. area. We are very fortunate to welcome her back to our community, albeit virtually this time. Please welcome back Laura Seltzer-Duny.
I'll just give you a very, very quick intro because I think a lot of you are already familiar with the general story. And I started working on this because someone, a cousin had reached out to me, Stephen and David Morwitz, about it. And I was excited. I was looking forward to, number one, tell this little known story because I had not known much about it. And I also was really looking forward to telling a story about our heroes in Hampton Roads, our hometown heroes who saved Holocaust refugees. I know, spoiler alert, I just gave you this, you don't have to watch the film now, but no, I'm just kidding. But then in 2017, I was really encouraged I was more motivated to tell this broader story because of the larger context of the plight of refugees and America's response to refugees. What I'd like to talk about after the film, which I think is really special and unique to our community, is our hometown heroes, which some are featured in this film in Norfolk and in Newport News. And without further ado, we will watch the film and we'll talk about some of our own heroes. So when you watch it, see what inspires you to remember to think about who our heroes are.
In the 1930s, anti-Semitism was spreading more intensely throughout Europe. But my family felt relatively safe because we were in Belgium, a neutral country during the war. We lived in a community that was accepting of us. But as the war broke out, it was only a matter of time.
Thank you, guys. I guess I don't know if Jesse wanted to go, but Jesse, should I just talk a little or you'll interject and guide?
Why don't you talk a little bit about the film? And because there are so many people, I think that if you have questions, maybe we should start putting them in the chat. I think that might be the better way just because there are so many people on the screen. What do you think, Laura?
Well, I just love all the people. I feel like I know 90% of the people in this room. And so it's up to you, Jesse, because you're the boss. But if maybe we could try it, people well, let me say a few thoughts before, and then Jesse, you're the boss. You decide how to do this. So I just first want to say how grateful I am that all of you are here today. We're all in our own homes, but I still feel like I'm seeing you all. And so I'm giving you a virtual hug. Yeah, I know that some of you have seen the earlier versions. And what was I going to say? Something about this film is about our hometown heroes. How nice is that? I just really think that's important for us to embrace and think about, because I don't know about any of you. I mean, I know some of you, knew the story, and especially like my grandparents, some of your grandparents, some of your parents, some of our great grandparents now knew of this 10-day moment, blink of an eye in time. This very little known, little told story. But I mean, I know some of my friends, I can't see Karen, but I did see Sharon here. But several of my friends who like studied in Hebrew school and Sunday school with me, we never learned this story. We learned about the horrors of the Holocaust, but what about the heroes? Yeah, we learned about some. Actually, I don't even know if we learned about many heroes back when we were kids. So let's first, I'm going to just get us started to think, because it's 7:54. We have till 8:30. So I want you to start to think about what you want to contribute to this, because we have a lot to say. You have a lot to say because there are a lot of heroes in our hometown. And I'm really proud of that. And we learned about Sally Rome and J.L. Morwitz, right? Our two Newport News hometown lawyers who stood up for what's right. We learned about the National Council of Jewish Women in Norfolk who fed and housed. And then we even met the boy who was 13, who was proud to have been touched by his mother's actions. We even have one of the granddaughters here tonight from Norfolk, Karen. I saw her pop in. Oh, hi, Karen. We learned about the State Department employee. We learned about Eleanor Roosevelt. She spoke up. She was not a bystander. She did not agree with what was going on, and she said something. I'll leave it at that. And so I'm going to read something. What's the definition of a hero? I looked it up. Definition of a hero is a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. So you're all heroes in my eye. I mean, I'm the ones I know, the ones I know you're all heroes in one shape or form. So would anyone like to share with me who one of your hometown Newport News heroes is? And just keep it short, because we want to give everybody a chance, and there's like almost 50 people on the call. And I'm happy to go first if you want me to go first.
I saw Bob Corfin had his hand up.
Go for it, Bob.
Unmute, Bob.
Mute yourself.
Hi, thank you for doing the film and showing it tonight. It was great. My daughter is Jessie. I have a question.
Jessie's your hero. No, just kidding.
She is.
And Carmela. My parents, my grandparents, all my aunts and uncles are gone. There's no one for me to ask. I have a simple question. Where did these people, they're not all rich people, where did they get the money to get on a ship like that and to come over? I mean, it wasn't a fancy ship, but how much did it cost? Where did they get the money for that?
So I don't think it was that expensive to get onto the ship, but they also had to beg, borrow, and steal, and they were not poor people. They had money. They got out in 1940. Like, I'm just gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna answer the question, but I'm gonna give you an answer. My mother-in-law, who was living in Norfolk now, they didn't have the means to get out of the country at the time. And you know what? That's the thing. Like, even the people who did have the means, there's so many who did not get out. So really, was it money? Was it luck? Was it timing? I mean, they got Irving Riddell. He was able to he like flirted with the girl in a, in one of the consulates. And then she said, "Come to the consulate, and I'll get you a visa." It was a transit visa. So anyway, do any other heroes? Besides Jesse, we know Jesse's your hero, right?
Mark Morwitz has his hand up.
Mark.
Hi, everyone. I have to leave in a few minutes, so I apologize. And I'm actually not going to talk about a hero, Laura, but to implore each of us, and especially the youngest here, to do everything we can to be heroes every day. And we have to do that in our political choices, our financial choices, where we invest, what news we watch, how we talk about others, and to remember our past as people who've been enslaved and then, you know, through the Holocaust as well, and to take that lesson forward with what we deal with today, with immigration and with people who were other than us. So I'm just begging everyone to not think of us, the Holocaust, as just our history and that we shouldn't continue to learn and grow. We have to protect others as we move forward. That's tzedakah, right? That's what we're supposed to do, is make the world a better place. No, that's not the right word. Shalom? I forgot the healing of the world.
Tikkun Olam.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. Very important. So I'm a gay Jew from this hometown, and I am an other from, I'm a distinct other for some of you. And I implore you as that kind of other person to think about people beyond yourself, out of your comfort zone. And so I hope this movie isn't just about our past, but we can take this and take it to the future. So thank you. And thank you, Laura, so much for bringing this story to all of us.
Mark, you could not have wrapped that concept up more beautifully. Thanks for sharing it. Yeah, we are, and actually PBS and schools around the country are starting to use the film, which I'm happy to talk about later if you want, if we have time, but they're using it as a learning tool. Like, let's learn from our past in terms of America's response to refugees then, and how we're responding to refugees now, and how we've been doing it throughout. But really focusing on now is critical. Arizona, not Arizona, New Mexico, the New Mexico community is really sending it to all their churches, and it's very, very exciting. Any other thoughts? Doesn't have to be a hero, but, oh, hi, Karen.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, I didn't see you early.
So I wanted to say, first of all, I agree with you. We only learned about the horrors of the Holocaust. And I think when we grew up in the 70s and the 80s, everything about being Jewish was negative, and to be scared and horrified. And even like the biggest well-known movie about somebody who did something positive during the Holocaust was Schindler's List, and he wasn't Jewish. And what I think is so wonderful about this, and was that your grandparents or your great-grandparents?
It was my great uncle and aunt.
Oh, okay.
Great grandparents' brother.
So to learn about Jews who helped Jews, I think that's just an amazing story, and we really need more of that. And so when I've taught over the last 20 years, I've tried to teach Jewish kids what to be celebratory about in our religion and being Jewish. And so I think this is so important, and I thank you for doing it, and I thank you for talking to me all day. I love you.
Thank you for coming, Karen. Okay, well, Karen, you're giving me a lead in. Oh,
can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I've found I know the story. I've seen it a couple of times. In fact, I think one of my daughters went to Sunday school with you. But anyway, I found the fact that you were able to find documentation from the families that you spoke with to be utterly amazing, considering how they had to leave with almost nothing. But they managed to bring with them a photograph or two.
How great is that?
To me, that just struck me as like outside the normal thinking process. I was truly amazed at that. And I think it must have been wonderful for them to share it with you and for you to share it with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, that's part of our curriculum too. Like in the beginning in chapter 1, it's, you got to leave everything behind in a heartbeat. Bombs are dropping. What do you pick? What do you put in a suitcase? Well, some of them put a couple photographs. I think I would put a couple photographs, right? I mean, it preserves where we came from. It's a really interesting thing to ponder. Okay, well, I just want to take something before I want you all to talk, but I want to tell you my heroes, two of my heroes, because Karen, you made me think of, when, honestly, a lot of you were involved in this, the Soviet resettlement program in the 80s and the 90s in Newport News. So I was able to learn a little bit about that through Barbara Gordon. I saw you, Barbara, somewhere. Oh, there you are. You're one of my heroes, Newport News heroes, because I think many people feel that way about you, as well as Linda Mullen. Linda Mullen, you guys remember Linda? I haven't seen her in years, but she walked me all through the amazing stuff that I wasn't there, but I'm gonna own it because it's my hometown. But like that you did, with resettling, bringing in the refugees, housing them, but not just housing them. Like you guys knit Afghans. You made personal Afghans for each home. And Barbara, I mean, I remember you walked me through a whole lot of what you did. I think I came to your house and I was doing research for another film back then. And so there's my hero, two of my heroes. Who wants to share any more heroes? I just think it's nice for us to recognize this,
Barbara Smith has been waiting to speak. Go ahead, Barbara.
Unmute Barbara.
We might be able to unmute her. Let me try.
Oh, there we go. Did I unmute? Yeah. Well, I grew up, I was around the same age as David, and I always thought it was so remarkable that the couple that did all that his wife was a lawyer at that time. It was very unusual to have a woman lawyer. And what they did was just so remarkable, and they kept going over and fighting it and getting a grip on it. And then, of course, when Mrs. Roosevelt came in, what a miracle that was. The whole thing was just absolutely phenomenal. The way the Norfolk women took them into their homes. And I mean, the whole thing was just so remarkable. And I saw the movie that you did, Laura, at the Jewish Community Center, which was marvelous.
I remember seeing you there. Yeah.
Yes. And, it's just phenomenal what went on and miraculous.
I know, we should be so proud. Seriously, I want to take this film and put us on the map. I mean, it's not like we need credit, but it's an important story that the country, young people need to learn from and be inspired by, like you were, Barbara. And that's so cool that David. You're David Morwitz. She's referring to David Morwitz, who was about 13 years old in the film, and he was interviewed. He was the son of J.L. Morwitz and Sally Rome. Sally Rome was one of the first women to go to William and Mary Law School, and she passed the bar exam on her first try. But she didn't officially she didn't care about her title like so many women in 1940 were. They were quiet behind the scenes, but she did all the paperwork, and the men take the credit. But we're actually doing a conversation with an Eleanor Roosevelt expert and a female lawyer next month about the women heroes in the film and during the Holocaust. If anybody wants to learn more about that, I guess I can. I don't know.
You have a question from Kamea.
Do you want to read it, Jesse, or do you want me to read it?
She's unmuting.
Oh.
I have two questions.
Sure.
The first one is, how long did it take to make the film, and how did you get all of the footage?
The video footage.
The video footage.
Such great questions. And can I just tell you how happy I am to see you, that you're here, and that you guys, I love the young people. You're our future, right? You're our future hero. I'm sure you may have done cool stuff even now to be heroic. So I was hired to interview the few remaining Holocaust survivors. So as you probably know, there aren't a lot living, and because they're older, they're all in their 90s and even hundreds. They would be in their hundreds now. And in 2012, so what is that, 8 years ago, I interviewed all of the survivors and then didn't do anything for several years with it because we didn't have a budget. Then flash forward to 5 years later, then I started editing the video. And I'll tell you one great place to find Holocaust footage, if you're ever interested in that, is the US Holocaust Museum in DC. And you can go online and it's a wealth of information. I mean, listen, you young, you know probably better than me how to find archival footage. Being, you know, young and you were born with a iPad in your hand, probably. And I'll just quickly say that I had to. There was a lot of interesting techniques. I can go into more about the illustrations if you guys want, but I want to see if there's any more questions or comments. I'm not reading all the. There's a lot of comments. Neil, do you want to, or
Laura, can I get back to the hero? Oh, I'm sorry.
If a teacher wanted to bring your film to her school, how would she do that?
Great question. So let's see, we'll put a link on this chat. And also, I think what we'll do, you know what I think we should do, Jesse, is just send a follow-up email to everybody who came with how a teacher can purchase the film, a community can purchase the film, can create this whole educational, so we have this whole educational, 4-part educational component that is the film, 43-minute film, and then it's 14 educational modules that have been vetted by experts and Holocaust subject matter experts and educators, and it complies with the standards, what's it called? Mark Friedman.
Standards of learning.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Mark is one of our advisors on the film, by the way. Thank you, Mark. You're awesome. And now we're developing, this is the coolest part, we're developing a virtual reality exhibit. And I'll tell you briefly, we're fundraising for that. And you are an avatar and you can be on your phone, flat phone, any phone can, or a computer, or you can use VR goggles, and you're literally going to step on the ship. And then you're going to meet one of the teenagers, the 3 teenagers that you met in the film, and they're going to talk to you and you can ask them questions. And it's all like a prompted thing, and you walk around and then you can click to watch videos. So it's this really great way that we can engage kids of all ages, right? I hope I answered your question.
I'm happy to say for you, Laura, because you probably won't. Laura's put together an amazing educational packet, Laura and her team. She is currently looking for funding. This is not a fundraising event, but if anybody should be interested, feel free to get in touch with Laura or me, and I'll tell you how to get in touch with her. But it really is quite impressive how she did not stop with just the video. This is something very comprehensive and contemporary and relevant. And so I'll quickly get to my heroes because that's what you were asking about. This is veering off a little bit, but I didn't know my parents were going to be here tonight. They're here someplace. And so I was fortunate to grow up with my heroes, my parents, who saw to it that when I was a young child, I was taken on 16th Street to stand in front of the Soviet embassy in a daily vigil. I don't know how many times I was taken to make the point, this was before the Iron Curtain fell, that there were people on the other side of that Iron Curtain that wanted to leave and wanted their freedom. And that was the example I had growing up. And then also I would say in this community, actually I have 2 more quick things, sorry. Barbara Gordon was able to do the work that she did here with Soviet immigrants because she was surrounded by leadership that didn't want to take the easy way out, which was just to pay a fair share because we're small and many communities just paid into the pot of support. And this community said, no, we are actually going to resettle. We are going to physically resettle our own, refugees and immigrants who are still prominent members of our local community today. So it's really a community of heroes in that respect. And then something very contemporary, NCJW, National Council of Jewish Women, plays a pretty significant role in this documentary, and is still an active group of women here locally today. Many of you are probably members on this call, and still active in these issues. So there is a relatively new group in town, new nonprofit called Hampton Roads Refugee Relief. I'm not getting it correct, but it is a nonprofit that is geared towards helping refugees, legal refugees that are here. And let me tell you, this is not the best place in the world for a refugee to settle in terms of employment and transportation and culture. It's a pretty hard place to come to, I think. And if I'm current, there are at least 2 Jewish women on that board of directors, Wendy Drucker and Lee Fenixon. That's the last I've seen. And Wendy has always been very involved in refugee issues. So this is a legacy that people in this community and National Council of Jewish Women continue to be involved in. So I just wanted to mention that. And thanks again, Laura.
Thanks, Sarah. Barbara?
Thank you for your kind words earlier. Please do not forget your father, who was with me as we organized that campaign to save the Jewish population of the former Soviet Union. Thank you, Steve. And my hero from that same period, starting from that same period, was Mayor Sarfin, because Mayor Sarfin led the fundraising campaign. He could not give a speech because he would start to cry. He felt it so deeply, and I have admired him so because it came from his heart. There's another person on this call, on this video tonight, who follows in that same image, but I won't embarrass him by saying his name. Thank you.
Oh, you can do it. You can say his name.
No.
Barbara, it's just so good to hear your voice. Have not seen you in a while. Long time. Way too long.
Memorable, isn't it?
Yes. Distinctive.
Go ahead, Barbara Smith.
I will say that I can remember being at a meeting, tagging along with my mother, and Lil Diamondstein was saying that Franklin Delano Roosevelt had to do something because the Jews were being killed and slaughtered, and she knew it way before anything was done. And we entered the war. And I remember her. She was a real visionary, and she was right on target with what she was saying.
Thank you. True. I can read something unless there's anybody else. Somebody wrote, I'm seeing. I'll read this real quick. My heroes are the many hardworking immigration lawyers who are fighting to help those being held illegally at our borders in corporate-owned detention centers, and others who have been turned back and are living in squalid conditions in places like Matamoros, victims of gangs, being kidnapped, trafficking, etc. One of those lawyers is our special friend and board member, Rebecca Eichler. Wait, who is that? Cher said that. Oh, nice. Thank you, Cher. I don't know if I know you. Where are you? Are you there? I don't see you, but very nice. Yes, Rebecca Eichler is just this amazing lawyer who PBS, this film was 43 minutes, and I don't know if any of you saw the PBS film, but the PBS program is 58 minutes. They needed me to lengthen it for some of the programs. It's a long story, not important, but point is Rebecca Eichler, who is really wonderful and really thoughtful and just a dear friend, was in that dialogue. And I'm going to tell you right now that that stream is available in complimentary stream to all of you on pbs.org through Friday night. So I'm going to put that in the chat room right now.
And it looks like we have another question. Mom or Dad, you just unmuted. What would you like to say?
I was curious, was that an unusual occurrence for the ship, a ship to come to Hampton Roads, or was it common for ships from Europe with refugees coming to this area?
I don't know the answer to that. Maybe Roy, do you know the answer to that question? I mean, I know, well, yeah. Does anyone know? Or Mark?
I gotta say, I don't know the answer. The some of the dialogue though was that this is where ships would come to refuel. So it would make sense that quite a few ships. Now, how many ships had refugees is a different issue altogether, but many ships would come by and refuel.
I just wanted to say that I also really, really liked your technique with the paintings to the photos. I thought that was.
I don't have the answer that person asked, Laura, but we do know that the Exodus definitely, originated from here later in 1947. So it was a port of embarkation and debarkation for the military in World War I and World War II. That's what Newport News was founded by. That's why they built ships there. That's why they had the railroads to bring the fuel in. And so that was there's a big display in Newport News. The archway, I think, is the port of embarkation display. The military marches underneath it to welcome the people home from war and from fighting and from being deployed. So I don't think it's unusual that they ended up here, but it's interesting. The Exodus tried to start from here and get funded to go over to pick up people, displaced persons after the war.
You had a question in the chat about who did the illustrations.
Oh yeah, Pauline Leisure from Canada did them, and I actually found her because basically, was it Kayla? Is that your name that you asked me about the footage? Is that how to pronounce your name?
Kamea.
Oh, Kamea. Okay, yeah, okay. So I just to elaborate on both of your answers is I was lacking in footage. A lot of it was like generic footage, and there were only a handful of photos of the actual people. Some because the local newspaper took a picture. The Virginia Pilot took several pictures, like gorgeous photos of them. But and then they each of them brought like 2 or 3 photos, and I milked it. As you can tell, I used them a lot. And then every time I had their childhood 1940 selves speak, that's when I had this illustrator they were hand painted watercolors by Pauline, and she's just an amazing person, like inside and out. We are talking about, with the virtual exhibit, also having an in-person exhibit in the future where you can pick like 12 or 24 of her illustrations, watercolors, to come to the JCC, the Jewish community venues, and you can buy them.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? We're starting to run short on time, and I know that it's getting late for some of our viewers. So please feel free to jump in with your questions at this point.
I'd like to stay till 9. I won't, because we can't. Just like this a lot.
Thanks, Lala.
Oh, hey, Chip.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks for coming, Chip and Bailey.
Louise won't be shown on video, but she's here.
Oh, did your daughter watch it too?
Yes, she did. She liked it. She says it was cool.
Thank you, guys. Let's see if there's any more comments. Somebody just said it's so good to see the young people on the screen, and I totally agree. So thank you, young people, for coming. All of us are young at heart, right?
Maya, did you have another question? Okay.
I guess it is a perfect time. Like, this was a good amount of time. Like, we can kind of wrap things up.
We're
Yes.
really fortunate tonight to have 3 of the voiceover actors on our screen tonight.
Yeah.
Did you want to touch on that, Laura?
Sure. You want to introduce them? Jesse, do you know the name? Do you want me to do that? I'll do it. Okay. Let's do a trivia. I know you probably saw it in that. Who knows who recognized the voice of the hero J.L. Morwitz? Okay, the Silvermans. You have to unmute yourself. Who was J.L.?
Your father and mother, they were in the previous show.
That's right. That's right. So Steve Seltzer was J.L. Morwitz. I thought he did a great job, don't we think? And Sally Morwitz was Sally Seltzer was Sally Rome Morwitz, spelled a little differently, but how cool is that? I really did search far and wide for the voices, and it turned out it is incredibly hard to get our Newport News accent. I can't even do it. Anymore. But Mom and Dad did a great job. They really knew they got it. And Sarah, where is our beloved Sarah Traster? Right here in the middle. I don't know. So she was, no, I made a mistake. Sarah Traster was Sally Rome Morwitz. She was a female lawyer hero. And Sally Seltzer was Elise Margulies, who is Karen's grandmother. Karen is somewhere in here. Maybe she hung up. Did I get everybody? I think so.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Hi, Karen.
Hi.
I'm glad you're here. Karen's from Norfolk, and I don't know if any of you met her at the screening, that earlier version of the screening in Newport News. It was so great to see all of you guys, but she was the one, Karen is who brought those beautiful dolls from Portugal because somebody gave her grandmother, right? Was it your grandmother?
Yes, they threw them overboard to my grandmother from the ship. We think it was the Kwanzaa. We're not 100% sure, but they're dressed in Portuguese clothing. And she gave them to me when I was like 4 and told me that someone had thrown them to her from a ship. So
amazing. What other ship could it have been, right?
I don't know.
I mean, it had to have been the Kwanzaa, right?
I think we're going to end with one more question. And because I get to be the boss, as you said earlier, it's going to be my question. So I just was wondering if there's anything that you came across in your research that was surprising.
Well, I mean, I guess I just didn't realize how, I mean, I know that anti-Semitism is rampant, in America. And I know that there's so many things that it's a good question. It's just, there's so many things to say and I can't pick which one right now, even though I was, seeing what the footage at Madison Square Garden was kind of horrific. And like seeing, and if you can Google it or look on YouTube for it, the Madison Square Garden Nazi protest or something, and it's a much longer version, and they pick on a Jewish guy. It's just horrible. And I think I just was also surprised in my research finding, first of all, that like nobody knew of this story, number one, and that I just want to put us up to challenge us to like, how do we get this story told to all of the public schools in Virginia? I mean, I will tell you, PBS, I'm really pleased and honored that, they love the film and they're pushing it out to the public schools right now. They're pushing out the educational modules, and it's, it's approved with the standards of learning for world history, the 11th grade and the 7th grade, world history, Virginia history, and something else. But let's all like maybe feel free to reach out to me, any of you, if you have ideas in ways we can really get this story out there and told to inspire people.
Thank you very much, Laura. I really, really like the idea of doing a follow-up email. So Laura's going to send me the links and things, and I have everybody's email address from you registering to be here this evening. So look for that probably early next week. We will send you that information, and that way you'll also have a way of getting in touch with Laura for any questions that may come up as you digest what we've just seen this evening. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you guys.
And
So
have a great night.
All right.